communications for UN Habitat based in Nairobi in Kenya, and I will be your moderator for this press conference. This is our online press briefing before the start of the World Urban Forum that is going to open just in less than a month, actually in a few weeks, on the 4th of November, and it will run from the 4th of November to the 8th of November in Cairo. We already had a number of briefings for the regional and local press in Cairo recently, when our executive director held on Sunday a briefing with the Prime Minister of Egypt in Cairo. And this is an online press conference, and we are reaching out to the media regionally and globally and inviting you to connect and to hear about the upcoming big event. The press conference is facilitated by the Africa Press Organization, and we really thank them for doing that. Before we proceed, I would like to do a few housekeeping rules before we start. We will invite our speakers to do short introductions at the beginning. They will speak, and then there will be a time for live questions and answers. Your questions you can enter into the chat. These will be submitted in the chat. So if you have questions, please do submit them in the chat. And please indicate the media outlet that you are representing and also the country that you are representing. And then we will see, I hope that we will have time at the end, and then we will address these questions accordingly to the speakers and invite them to respond to these questions. I will read these questions. And now I would like to really introduce our speakers. With us today, we have the executive director of UN Habitat, Anna Claudia Rosbach, who is heading the agency. We also have the representative from the government of Egypt, because this session of the World Urban Forum will be hosted in Egypt. Dr. Abdulkhaled Ibrahim, Assistant Minister of Housing for Technical Affairs, Egyptian Ministry of Housing, Utilities and Urban Communities. And also we have with us today here, Ahmed Resk, UN Habitat Country Director in Egypt, who will also talk about the World Urban Forum and in Egypt here. You can follow our coverage online because we are also streaming it, and then you can also check more information at #WOOF12, where you can get more information. So now, after this introduction, it is my pleasure to give the word to our Executive Director, Anna Claudia Rosbach. And I will also share a few slides with you so that you can have some visual aid to see that information when the Executive Director is speaking. So, Executive Director, the floor is yours. Please.
Thank you, Katerina. Greetings, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on where you are. I also take the opportunity to greet our partners, co-hosts of this event, the representative of the government of Egypt here, Dr. Abdel Kalek. It's a pleasure to see you again virtually after we met last week during the last press conference and when we were checking on the premises for the World Urban Forum. Thank you, everybody, to attend. The role of press and the role of communication is critical for us at this moment in time. The World Urban Forum is perceived as the second largest conference within the UN system. It was created more than 20 years ago by the General Assembly of the United Nations with the objective of being the conduit to interact with stakeholders, with the civil society, with local and regional governments, with the academia, with the private sector. It's also an open event, very democratic. It doesn't cost the registration, and everybody can attend in person. Well, the capacity is large for attendance in person and online. For UN Habitat, it's a critical event. I don't know if you all are aware of, but we follow the guidelines and the principles stated by the new Urban Agenda Global Commitment that was signed by the member states in 2016 at the Habitat 3 conference in Quito. And it's a critical moment for us to gather stakeholders working in cities, in the area of urban development to assess what's going on. It's a critical moment to get illustration of solutions, of alternatives on how to overcome the global challenges, but also to identify trends, regional trends in different countries, and a great moment to promote the exchange of experiences, but also build critical mass, build a common understanding of the challenges we face right now. What is the role of urban? What is the role of cities? What is the role of human settlements? In our case, what is the role of UN Habitat to deal and address these global challenges? And I'm talking about the bigger challenge that we face in relation to climate change. I am talking about the humanitarian crisis. I am talking about the challenge of overcoming poverty and generate prosperity. So for us, it's a critical moment to assess what's happening, what's going on, and to incorporate the inputs, the experiences, the diversity of perspectives, and embed it into our work. This year, the forum will take place from the 4th to the 8th of November in Cairo, Egypt, at the Egypt International Exhibition Center. And we are expecting to have around 20,000 participants. It is the second time this event happens in Africa. It's an event that happens every 2 years. The first forum was in 2002 in Kenya. So right now, more than 20 years, it's happening in Cairo again. As I said, it became an institution throughout these 20 years and became an institution that has been very useful, not only for UN Habitat, but for all the stakeholders, for the whole landscape, for the whole urban landscape, to build, to understand, to learn, to form coalitions. It's very symbolic and very important for us that this forum takes place in Cairo. Cairo is one of the fastest growing cities in Africa and represents the biggest challenge and opportunities of urbanization, not only for Egypt and for Africa, but also globally. By 2035, cities like Cairo, Lagos, Dar es Salaam, and Kinshasa will be home to more than 10 million people each. So the challenge faced by big urban agglomerations is increasing, and Cairo can help us to understand what are the illustrations, what are the solutions, where is the innovation, and where are the best ways to address that. It's very critical that we have this forum too in a moment where we are closing, we are getting 2050 to a percentage of 70% of the global population living in cities. This will represent for Africa, for example, an influx of 600 million people going to cities. It means doubling the urban population in Africa. So especially for Africa, for Asia, these next years will be critical. These next years of increasing urbanization will be critical, and therefore the importance of the World Urban Forum is also higher. So what's the theme this year? This year the theme is "It All Starts at Home: Local Actions for Sustainable Cities and Communities." It reminds us that the solutions to global challenges should be grounded by local realities where the real people live, where they work, where they build their futures. It's also important that, please, not yet there, Katarina. It's also important, the allusion to home in the title, because we are living right now a global housing crisis. We have 1 billion people living in informal settlements. We have almost 3 billion people in the world facing in some sort of housing challenges. We have we are seeing houses being destroyed by disasters, natural, man-made, by conflicts and wars. So there's a huge need to invest in recovery and reconstruction. We also are experiencing historical affordability gaps all over the world, and a large number of homelessness everywhere. So the housing crisis, the global housing crisis, is affecting us all. And the theme "Starts at Home" is very critical for the work of UN Habitat in the upcoming years. So it has a double meaning. It means home, the shelter, but also home, the local home, the cities. In the cities, locally is where we are able to connect social and physical infrastructure. Urban planning and housing are critical for that. Housing is the roof of the SDGs, and the combination of both urban planning, connecting services, connecting opportunities, making the movement, the mobility of urban citizens easier, will have a huge impact in terms of how we can accelerate the implementations of the SDGs. Where we are in a critical moment right now, because we are approaching 2030, and we are facing many difficulties in achieving some targets, especially in relation to the urban sector. Our area, the area of UN Habitat, target 11.1, which means ensure access for all to adequate, safe, and affordable housing and basic services and Islam upgrading, is far off track. As I mentioned, 1 billion people living in slums. So this space will be critical for us to assess that as well, having qualitative input on the status that we are. Also, target 11.7, which is provide universal access to safe, inclusive, and accessible green public spaces, in particular for women and children, older persons, and persons with disability. We have only 45% of urban dwellers across the globe having access to public space. So we expect at twelfth to connect these local actions, understand what's going on, build partnerships and coalitions to be stronger, to accelerate the SDGs locally, and with that have a stronger global impact. So what's the scale of the forum? What are we expecting in Cairo right now? Scale of the forum is very significant. I just got today the information that we have 16,000 registered participants registered from 179 countries, representing a wide array of stakeholders, including, as I said before, national and local governments, regional governments, the private sector, civil society movements, urban planners, academia. So there's a whole set of stakeholders participating. We are anticipating more than 500 events, plus an extended Urban Expo connected to Cairo Urban Week, which will be excellent for us to connect Cairo the local where we are going to be to the global and vice versa. One central feature of Wolf 12 is the 6 dialogues. They are a series of high-level discussions. We're bringing together ministers, mayors, community leaders, experts from various fields. And these dialogues will focus on the most pressuring urban issues, which includes housing, slums transformations, climate resilience, the nexus, development, humanitarian action, financing, people, technology. So they will be really excellent entry point or gateway for the 500 plus events organized by this wide set of stakeholders. From all these events, only 30 events are organized, 30-something organized by UN Habitat. The majority of the events are led and organized by stakeholders. In terms of outcomes, Katarina, if you can move, please. Sorry, I forgot to mention, we are expecting to have 3 key documents, a report, key takeaways, and the World Urban Forum perspectives. To add on that, also on the slide, we have 156 speakers confirmed. So yeah, I think with that and concluding, just to say that reaffirm that the World Urban Forum is not only a platform for dialogue, it's a model of action, a place where we want to enhance and strengthen partnerships and coalitions. Throughout the event, we are also ensuring that sustainability is embedded in everything we do, like using of public transport and electric buses, to reduce CO2 emissions, creating eco-friendly branded materials. So really want to put our commitment to sustainable development into practice. The event will also be fully accessible to ensure that all participants, regardless of their abilities, can fully engage. I mentioned the concrete outcomes, and we really hope that the discussions there will be properly captured, and that we'll be able to embed that, as I said, in the strategic action, in the core action, the core mandate of UN Habitat, but also throughout the UN system, and where we can participate of big conferences like the COP, like the Finance for Development, like the Social Summit. We intend to bring the discussions at WOOF to the UN conference spaces, but also communicate to the society as a whole. And we hope that this World Urban Forum leaves a legacy for the urban community globally, that everybody leaves Cairo with increased knowledge about the sector, with increased networks, and also that the forum leaves a legacy for Cairo and Egypt, that this is an opportunity to build a critical mass, to create awareness about the importance of cities for our society, for our development, and to address the global crisis. And it will be also a turning point for the urban agenda for Cairo and for Egypt. With that, I thank everyone for the participation today. Invite everybody to come and join us at the World Urban Forum. It's a wonderful event. I had the opportunity to participate in several, and it's really, really a fantastic and incredible place to be. And Cairo and Egypt are amazing locations and hosts as well. So it will be great. I will stop now and will be attentive to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Executive Director, for your remarks and for your introduction into the World Urban Forum. And as rightly was mentioned, World Urban Forum is taking place in Cairo, in Egypt. And we would also like to invite our host country, because the World Urban Forum is organized not only by UN Habitat, Also, a very active role is played by the host country. And today, the host country here is represented by Dr. Abdelhalik Ibrahim from the Ministry of Housing. He is Assistant Minister of Housing and Technical Affairs at the Egyptian Ministry of Housing, Utilities, and Urban Communities. Dr. Abdelhalik, the floor is yours. Please share with us some insights about the World Urban Forum from Egypt. Thank you.
Thanks, Katrina. First of all, we would like to thank UN Habitat, especially special thanks to Ms. Anna Claudia Rosbach. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be with you today, and I would like to highlight a couple of issues relating to the legacy of twelfth to Cairo and Egypt. So just a moment, I will share my screen. It's working now. Right. So, Cairo is the host city for twelfth, and I would like to start my presentation about why Cairo. Actually, Cairo has a mixture of different urban character from ancient to modern urbanization. So we can say that Cairo has different character, different urban different urban form. And this is maybe very important to raising the awareness and knowledge transfer between the different stakeholders. And according to these different characters, there are different potential and challenges towards urban sustainability. For example, so we have a number of different characters, starting by Islamic Cairo and Coptic architecture, European architecture, and by the way, European architecture, this is part of the Cairo downtown, the central business of Cairo, and this district named by Paris East because of its unique architecture similar to city of Paris. And also we have different examples for the early modern architecture that have been established in the city 100 years ago. And in addition to that, we have a number of different post-modern architecture representing in the new city development. We have already 13 new cities around Greater Cairo. So accordingly, we can say that Cairo, it has a richness of the urban characters and urban potentials for different issues. And accordingly, it can be represent different good examples for other cities around the worldwide. Despite that, Cairo still faces a number of urban development challenges affecting the sustainability of the city. High level of densification and compaction, poor quality of life, traffic congestion. For example, per year, Cairo was losing $1 billion per year for the impact of traffic congestion. And informal areas or informal housing, we have more than in Egypt, 15 million inhabitants live in informal areas. So these are a number of different challenges, different problems, and different sectors, and all of these sectors covered during the World Urban Forum. And as Ms. Anna said in her discussion about the main challenges of Cairo is urban and population growth. So the total population of Cairo, about 23 million inhabitants, and every year there is an incremental increase more than 0.5 million inhabitants per year. So different challenges, different problems, and we need to have a vision. The vision is to put people at the center and improve the quality of life and the quality of built environment. And this vision can be achieved through a number of 5 strategies, such as upgrading informal areas, reuse of brownfield lands, affordable housing for all, road and public transportation, regeneration of historical sites. All of these strategies or all of these issues already have a different examples from Egypt, how Egypt and how the Egyptian government have some good examples from to deal with all of these problems. Okay, so accordingly, one of the main legacy of Wolf 12 on Egypt to knowledge gained from the best practices for sustainability, whether from Egypt or from other countries, and for Egypt or for Cairo itself, this is an example of the informal area and the upgrading of formal areas. We have a number of different areas that have been upgraded, and by the way, these locations are part of the urban tours that will be taking place during the forum. And another examples for improving the quality of life of different sites of in Cairo, and also will be part of the urban tour. Finally, we aim to have three main objectives from move to Cairo and to Egypt: collaboration, involvement, and support. Since one of the key messages of Wolf 12 is it all starts together, so collaboration here is collaboration with international stakeholders for integrated knowledge transfer. And this is one very important impact from this event on Cairo, and how Egypt can be benefit from this kind of mega event for collaboration with different stakeholder, G2G, G2B, and different kind of collaboration. The second objective is the involvement of the local community. And as you know, that the title or the theme of the forum this year, it starts at home. So involvement of the local community and raise the awareness of people, very important, and engage them in this kind of event in order to raise their awareness about the urban challenges, the urban problems, and how can we deal with our problems in the future. Finally, support of the local government, because localization is our hope in this forum. So how to support the local government for the implementation of sustainable urbanization. We have a different national and regional policies, but the problem how to transfer these overall strategies and policy into the local level. So support the local government, another aim for Egypt from this forum. And finally, we wish waiting you all in Cairo from 4th to 8th of November. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdelhalak, for this very informative presentation, and also explaining us how World Urban Forum fits into Cairo, how it can benefit, and what are the things that are going to be also witnessed, because media can take tours and can visit some of these things that you mentioned. So thank you very much. I also would like to now say, we already mentioned it several times, that the aim of UN Habitat is not only to have the event which is happening somewhere at the venue, but it is really connected to the country and to the city where it is happening. So it's one of the main objectives that we're trying to do and achieve when we are holding our World Urban Forum. So to give you a little bit more details, we also have a plan for the Cairo Urban Week that was mentioned several times. So our country director for Egypt, Ahmed Resk, will now explain and share a few things about the Cairo Urban Week, and I will help him by projecting the slides. So just allow me to share, but Ahmed, you can start.
Thanks so much, Katarina, and good evening, and for all our esteemed participants, as well as also good morning for the participants from the other side of the world. As you kindly mentioned, I would like to give a quick orientation about Cairo Urban Week, which is going to be hosted in the city from the 27th of October till the 3rd of November, just before the World Urban Forum. And it has been planned and designed in a way that can help us to build the momentum for the upcoming World Urban Forum that's going to be hosted in Cairo. In a way also that can help us and to leverage the experience of the city and to introduce it to the participants in terms of its cultural diversity, its unique heritage. It's a very rich week of activities where we have a lot of different moods and formats of engagement, including dialogues and talks on sustainable urbanization that will be bringing different stakeholders, experts, policymakers, and local communities. And it will help us also to showcase and discuss matters related to innovative urban solutions. In addition to that, we have a very interesting element as part of Cairo Urban Week, which is WOF Legacy, World Urban Forum Legacy, in which we will be focusing on activation and advocating and celebrating public spaces in Egypt. That's going to be launched on the 3rd of November in an important neighborhood in the city, which is named Al Asmarot. Giving the main thematic directions of the World Urban Forum, Cairo Urban Week will be an excellent opportunity to explore the uniqueness of the city, and also it will help participants to witness the Cairo creative talents, as well as discovering the stories and the tales of the city and the people, and definitely engaging in interesting dialogues around sustainable urbanization. Moving to the next slide, Cairo Urban Week comes with 8 main elements. As you can see, where we will be starting by the inauguration events. It's hosted in an very interesting place, which is the Civilization Museum, and it will host an important discussion and panel session around sustainability in art from ancient times till the modern era of the city. This session will be coming with a high-level participation from different involved line ministers of local development, ministers of housing, ministers of international cooperation, as well as subject matter experts. Definitely also at that important occasion, we will hear from the governor of Cairo, the experience of the city, and guiding all the participants about the activities of the whole week. The second main important element will start on the 1st of November, which will be hosted as the Grand Egyptian Museum, and will continue to the 2nd and the 3rd of November, in which we will have the Cairo Talks. Again, as I mentioned, it will be involving different stakeholders from academia, private sector, government, institution, professionals in matters related to urban planning and design. Again, the main important aspect is to have engagement, conversations, discussions around different aspects and matters related to urban development and the experience of the city, while also discussing what is the future of Cairo. We will be having a number of interesting performances happening on the 1st and the 2nd of November, which can take us closer to the talents in the city and listen to the heritage and the culture of the city. We have a special exhibition that's going to be also launched on the 1st of November, which bridges the historical concept of public spaces with its modern interpretation. Within the context of Cairo, we'll be also continuing the dialogues. We will have the Cairo narrative. We will have a space activation. We'll have different co-design workshops organized in this number of days. The 3rd of November, as I mentioned, is mainly focusing on the legacy of the WOOF to Cairo, in which we will be launching together a public space that is being designed and developed in a very inclusive manner within the city, which is Al Asmarat neighborhood. By the way, Al Asmarat neighborhood in itself is a story that is worth to be communicated and discussed with the participants. Again, because it's still happening in Egypt, it's very important also to organize a number of tours and walks within the city, and the majority of these Cairo tours will be happening in downtown, where we can get closer to the very rich urban context of the city. We will have also urban cinema. A number of films and videos will be featured as part of the urban Cairo cinema, speaking about the story of Egypt, speaking about the story of Cairo. Last but not least, we will be having two international events also hosted in Cairo as part of the Cairo Urban Week, one of which is mainly discussing the quality of life, emphasizing the importance of matters related to the quality of life for people to advocate for inclusive and sustainable urban development as a global fronts. And the second event will be mainly focusing on matters related to water, in which we will have the assembly of global water operating companies and agencies, all of them assembling here and convening here in Egypt and discussing different matters related to water and sanitation, and how we can build the climate resilience in that sense. That's in brief the program of Cairo Urban and Urban Week, which will, as I mentioned, will start and commence its activities on the 27th of October and will continue till the last day, just before 3rd of November, just before the World Urban Forum. Many of the activities that I mentioned will be happening and will continue also during the period of the WOOF, like the exhibition, like the urban walks and the cinema. So that's an excellent opportunity for all our participants to join us and to welcome you in the city. Over to you, Catherine.
Thank you very much, Ahmed, for this information about the Cairo Urban Week and the different activities that are going to be happening in the city and that are going to be part and leading the way to the World Urban Forum, the main event that will happen from the 4th to the 8th of November in Cairo. And now as I said, I would like to thank all our participants for the statements and for the information that they shared and provided. As I said, we invited everyone to submit questions through the chat. We had a number of questions that were coming up and a number of questions that the reporters were interested in. So I would like to address them. I think this is the first question. The first question, actually, maybe I will suggest the first two questions that came from a journalist in Rwanda. I think I can invite those of you who are interested and can respond. I think it would be good to hear a perspective of UN Habitat about that, but then also a perspective from Egypt maybe as well. So the question from Rwanda, the first question is, what role can regional partnerships and collaborations play in promoting sustainable urban development in East Africa and ensuring that cities are inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable? And then another question that also from the same journalist is, in what ways can the international community support and empower local communities in East Africa to take ownership of their development and contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals? I think probably the second question about the international community is I would like to ask the executive director to address this question, and then also you can mention anything about the first one about the regional partnerships, but then also maybe I can suggest that Dr. Abdelhalek then can also talk about the regional cooperation in Africa, how it is seen from Egypt. So at first, I would like to ask the executive director to talk about the international community and support.
Thank you, Katarina. Yeah, maybe one interesting example about the importance of having these regional gatherings is the African Urban Forum. A couple of weeks ago, we had a first forum focused and dedicated to urban issues. This was hosted by the African Union, and UN Habitat provided support. I think it's a critical example of how important it is to come together as a community, local stakeholders, but also the international community, to first, talk and understand that the big issues, the big pictures of urbanization in the region. And then secondly, to gather data, to gather knowledge, to gather experiences and illustrations of how different countries, how different cities are coping with the big challenges that a certain region faces. And the third aspect is really to build critical mass, build consensus on the way forward. We won't be able to overcome the critical major challenges of the world right now if we don't build coalitions, partnerships, networks. So the collective thinking, the collective action, co-creation is fundamental. Having a regional perspective, having a global perspective fits into the discussions in the several countries, fits into the discussions in the several cities. It helps us also to gather evidence, qualitative evidence, quantitative evidence of policies, plans, and practices that we can apply and implement to face the challenges. Another important aspect in terms of building international action to local and building and empowering local stakeholders is build capacity and build institutions. We just heard recently the Nobel Prizes on economics being to researchers, scholars looking at the importance of institutions for economic prosperity. And this is critical. I believe the international community has a strong role in terms of making sure that throughout our actions, throughout our projects, activities, we build local capacity. We help to build local capacity, and we help to build strong institutions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Executive Director. And now I also would like to address Dr. Abdelhalek. If you have anything, if you want to contribute to the question about the role of regional partnerships and collaborations that play in promoting sustainable urban development, and especially with a focus on East Africa.
Right. So as extension to the highlights from Ms. Rosbach about collaboration and the link with the African Urban Forum, we extend this continuing event and discussion by inviting the African Minister for a high-level meeting, a high-level roundtable. This meeting will focus on what are the outcomes from the African Urban Forum and how to put these outcomes into practice, how to pave the road for the African countries, because African countries to some extent are similar in the urbanization problems. And we do need to share the knowledge between each other. And that is why another part of this meeting is to share the knowledge and sharing the similar experiences, how to transfer the regional and national collaborations and also initiative into a number of existing and future projects on ground. And this is very important for local. And because localization is our hope in this event, so we will focus on a number of key messages: no one left behind, and how to put the people at the center. So I know facing these urban challenges is not an easy task, especially in the limitation of resources, financial resources. So it's a kind of an extension for the discussion that have been raised, whether during the African Urban Forum or another initiative that will be launched during the Urban Forum, the World Urban Forum for Africa. So I think we can put from this meeting and the several discussions during the WOF like a roadmap, an action plan for the African countries.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdelhalik, for your question, for your answer. And now, actually, I have another question. This time it is from the Spanish news agency, from Alvaro Malizo, the journalist. And he is asking if there is going to be a specific panel or discussion regarding affordability and rising prices of housing for rent, or houses to buy. And is there, can they expect that UN Habitat will provide recommendations on housing matters at the end of the forum? So this is a question that I will address to the Executive Director of UN Habitat about the topic of housing at the World Urban Forum.
Recording in progress. Thank you. Thank you, Katarina. Yeah, no, this is a very important and relevant question. As I mentioned before, not only in Spain, I believe.
No, I want to take it.
Sorry? I think somebody's not muted. No? Okay. And not only in Spain, I believe the journalist is from Spain, but it's a global issue in the global south, is a structural issue. The affordability gaps, the difference between incomes and prices were always very critical, and the outreach of the formal markets were always very critical. Therefore, we have large scale of informal land and real estate markets in many countries in the global south. But now the affordability crisis is affecting all countries. We have also the US record housing deficits with 4 million houses. So it's a critical global issue. We will have one dialogue on housing, a major dialogue on housing. I'm sure this topic will be incorporated there. But it's important to look at the program online, identify which are the sessions that will be closer, proposed by partners, that will be closer to this topic. As we mentioned before, we are expecting a series of outcomes, key messages and reports, but also the partner-led events. They will issue reports, and we'll work towards incorporating these informations, these insights, these inputs in the work UN Habitat is doing, in our strategic work, in our advocacy work, in our work in providing technical assistance. Right now, there is no specific product inside as requested by the journalist, but the idea is to incorporate that in the overall work that we do. And we are very much aware of the critical importance of the affordability gaps that we are facing now globally.
Thank you very much, Executive Director, for this response. And I would like to say, so we will put it in the chat. We mentioned, Executive Director mentioned the program of World Urban Forum. All the sessions, all the different information and the streams are there online. And the first dialogue is going to be on housing, so you can look at the different sessions and the speakers there, and then also search through this partner-led events. So we will post the link to the website, which is woof.unhabitat.org, and we will post it in the site. And then there is one more question that came from a journalist in Kenya. I think it's from the Times of Kenya. To the African continent after so many years.
Thank you, Katarina.
So maybe again this.
Coming. Yeah, so there's a whole process. Of course, we try to rotate regions, but it's not only possible. But there's a whole process of selection of the city, right? There's a process, there's an assessment related to, of course, the logistical capacity of the city, the preparedness to host such a large conference, but it's also an assessment on the experience and the engagement of the cities in previous World Urban Forums, and also with the new urban agenda. As I mentioned at the beginning, the new urban agenda is the global commitment that orients our work, our mandate at UN Habitat. And of course, it's important that the host country, the host city is aligned and has developed policies and programs that are aligned with our mandate, with the new urban agenda. So basically, what we request in terms of assessment is a solid ground to land the WOOF, a solid ground in terms of logistic, and a solid ground in terms of critical mass, knowledge, and experiences. And I'm glad that it returned to Africa at this point in time when I just start as Executive Director of UN Habitat.
Okay, thank you very much, Executive Director, for the responses. And I also would like to thank all our participants as well for the responses. I think we were a little bit over time, and our apologies. We had some technical issues to start the live session. So this is the time for us to end. I would really like to thank everyone for the participation, for the questions that you provided. And as Executive Director mentioned at the very beginning, it is really very important that the media participates, and we do need you here as well to cover all these issues and discussions that are going to take place. So we're very much looking forward to having you and having you join the sessions. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for your interest, and we hope to see you in Cairo. And I would like to thank the Executive Director, our representative of the Government of Egypt, and also our Country Director for Egypt for their participation, their time. Thank you very much. And thank you very much also for all the media representatives, and goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.